Welcome to Carpool Conversations, where our goal is to help equip parents to have meaningful, Christ-centered conversations with their kids. I'm Amy Lowe.
And I'm Marissa Ray. And today we are going to be talking about the benefits of working camp in the summer.
Yes. Marissa, working camp in the summer is fun.
Yes.
You have many years of working camp in the summer. It's also very hard work. It's one of the hardest jobs that there is.
Yes.
But goodness, I still vividly remember the lessons that I learned from working camp 20 years ago. I mean, it was a really long time ago, but I learned so much. I grew so much in my faith, in my leadership skills, and just my grit and tenacity. I mean, there's like so many things that I could just tell you about the things that I learned by working camp, just really vital years in my development. And today that's our topic, as you mentioned. And to tackle this topic, we have two all-star camp staff with us here to answer our questions. And some of you might be thinking, Amy, my little kids are little. Why are we talking about the benefits of working camp? This is a long way off. Well, yes, maybe that's true. But if that's the case, I think it's still good for you to think about. Like for me, my kids they're in middle school and high school, but I want them to work camp when they're old enough. Like I just think that's a great use of their summer, and it's going to benefit them in so many ways because we get to see the staff up close and personal, and we experienced it ourselves. So I want them to work camp, but then also it might convince you to maybe send your kids to camp in case you haven't done that yet, because you're going to realize how awesome these camp staff are and want to send your kids to go experience them and learn from them. And so you're going to get to meet some awesome people. Marissa, tell us who we got today.
Yeah, I would love to. So as Amy said, we have two rock star camp staff who have been with us for multiple years. So I'd love to introduce you to Alex Scales and Grace Kilgore. They are truly camp veterans. I'll let them get to tell you how many summers they've been a part of WinShape here in a little bit, but they are wonderful people. So thank y'all so much for joining us today. We're excited y'all are here. And we'd love for y'all to just kick off with an introduction. Just tell us a little bit about what season of life you're in right now and how many years you worked camp and what location, or just what your kind of camp story looked like.
Yeah, so like I said, I'm Alex Scales. I'm currently a veterinarian in Johns Creek, Georgia, working with primarily exotic animals, so birds, rabbits, all the fun little things that you see in Petco. I worked camp in the horse barns at Mount Berry for 7 years as a summer staffer, and then I worked a summer as a contracted person working for the barns, and I was a camper for 11 years at Mount Berry as well. So
lots of time spent at camp.
Oh yeah, you definitely have me beat on the amount of time spent at camp. But I'm Grace Kilgore. I also went to Mount Berry WinShape Camps for Girls for 11 summers as a camper, and had such a wonderful experience that I just couldn't help myself but come back. And so I worked 5 summers at girls camp at Mount Berry it was really just a wonderful experience. And so that's a little bit about my history with camp. And I'm currently in grad school for sustainability and am just really eager for the next stage of life.
And planning a wedding. So that's exciting that Grace gets to also, in her spare time, plan a wedding.
In the midst of grad school and everything else.
Well, again, so glad that y'all are here and we get to pick your brains a little bit and learn from you. And again, just really grateful for the years that you invested in our summer camp kiddos that came to Mount Berry specifically. I just know that no matter what, if it was working in the barn or being in the camper care area, that y'all had an impact on campers for the good, and you used your time really well by serving in the summer. And Alex, I have a bird at home. I don't know how many people you get to chat with on a regular basis that have a bird, but we have a bird, and he's very chatty. He's a lovebird. His name is Simon. So anyway, that's so neat that you take care of them. So if he ever gets in trouble, I'll just know to call you, which is great.
Yeah, let me know.
Okay. Okay, we're going to ask y'all the same questions. So the first question is, what is something that your parents did growing up that has really stuck with you and helped shape you into the person that you are today?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing that I think about for both my parents is they showed me like what it meant to be a leader, from like two completely different aspects. So my dad's Army, and so that comes with all the like leading large groups of people and like organizing big groups. And he definitely like led my family in that way, and just taught us like the value of like hard work and how the leader should be the first one to step forward and do everything, or like first one to step forward into like accomplishing a task, and like then you can rally your team behind you and everything. And then my mom for the longest time had a like student leadership ministry where we go out in like Atlanta and do like service things like that. And so I definitely learned like the other side of like servant leadership, and just like a leadership from a perspective that is different than what you think of a leader. Not like up in the front, like, and I don't know, from the stage telling people where to go, what to do, sort of thing, but like boots on the ground in the mud with people, like doing things that nobody think a leader should do. But that's probably the biggest thing.
That's awesome. I think that my experience was very similar, and my parents just really raising me well and on good values. And I think that one of the things that they really worked hard in implementing in us was kind of like you said, Alex, just a passion for serving and being with people, and not just thinking about doing those things, but really just putting kindness into action. And I remember that once a year, my parents would pull me out of school, and we would have a acts of random kindness day, and we'd go around the town and try and do different things to help people in our community. And even if there was a big news event, like I was in elementary school when the earthquakes happened in Haiti, and I came home and told my mom about it, and she was like, so then what are you going to do about it? And I think that they really just encouraged us in serving well. And they would always speak 1 Timothy 4:12 over us, don't let anyone look down on you because you're young, but setting an example for believers in speech and conduct and love and faith and purity. And I think that my parents really did a good job of implementing that in us and encouraging us that, yes, we're young, but that doesn't deter the impact that we can have on the world. And I think that that has really grown me as a person. And now the job that I want to pursue full time is really working and volunteering in service. And I think that is a product of the way that they raised us.
I love that. And I think back to, Amy, what you were saying, like camp is hard work, but it really does, ask a lot of just servant leadership and serving. And I think you two kind of hit on that, like the things your parents instilled in you both got to come out in your time as staffers at camp, and just the ways that we know you both and seeing that actually come to life. So that's so cool. That's what y'all feel from your parents instilled in you. And then you got to show that at camp and use that in a way to serve. So thank you all for, once again, as Amy said, all the time you spent at camp, which, as we just heard, you both spent 11 years as campers before even becoming staffers. So by the time you became a staff, WinShape was just a part of you and who you were. We would love to just hear you both talk a little bit about any reasons why you loved camp as a kid. Like what kept you coming back? What did you enjoy so much about camp? Just any reasons you loved camp so much.
Yeah, I think it kind of shifted as I got older, why I wanted to go to camp, as I think it should, as they get older and mature and everything. When I was younger, it was very much like I loved all of like the programming and everything. I was just fascinated by all of like the culture of Mount Berry boys and specifically, and I thought it was like so cool. And going to like Council of the Wilds and just like seeing the torches was like, oh yeah, this is freaking sick. Like I love this. That was a big part of it. And on top of that, all the friends I kept meeting over the years for sure was like one of the big things, because those people I went to camp with that I was a raptor, very, very young, and I still talk to them and I still see them to this day. That was another big thing. And I think as I got older, camp was always a place for me to reset, to kind of escape from just the day-to-day minutia and everything, and reset my mind on the Lord, and be around people where we could have fun in the same day and play crazy games, and then go back to the cabin and just like have like crazy deep conversations, and all of that could happen in the same day, and all of it could be just as like beautiful and life-giving. So that's definitely, as I got older, it became more of just like the community that was built there, and like the trust that you would build from people over the years. That was the biggest thing that brought me back.
Yeah, I feel like I kind of have a similar answer of, I was so bought into everything camp, and it was truly like the most fun 2 weeks of my entire year. I knew I was going to have a blast. I was prepping my costumes like weeks, months before, just going all out. And so it was always going to be fun. I always knew that. But I think that the relationships and the relationships that were really based in like spiritual growth was just so powerful. And I feel like the friendships that I formed there were just unlike any other friendships that I found back home. I just felt like there was a certain level of trust and closeness that was built by the values of WinShape, and that I also felt really poured into by the leaders there, that my counselors and the worship speakers and everyone really did a good job of being available and loving. And I really looked up to them. I admired them, and I saw who I wanted to be in them. And I think that those are things that I just craved more of every summer. And so it was really just life-changing in every aspect, in the way that I actually found the Lord at camp. And so it's really just the most incredible experience. And like you said, Alex, the perfect mix of having an incredible fun time, but also knowing that I was walking away feeling changed every single time I left.
Those are beautiful answers. And it just reminds me of the important work of camp. I didn't grow up going to camp. You didn't either, right, Marge? So, yeah, we're jealous of you that we didn't get to have that experience, but we're grateful that we get to provide that experience for our own kids. And those are such great answers. So, but not only were you campers, you have worked camp for a long time, as you mentioned, and I could spend this whole podcast talking about all of the lessons that I learned from working camp. So I realized that you are going to have to like just give us a few. But what were some of the lessons you learned while working WinShape camps?
Yeah, so I think there's two big things that I take away from like all the years. I think the first big one is I really learned how to communicate the same information differently to different types of people. The way like the horse barns work is there's one like lead equestrian guide, and there's 4 other equestrian guides that work there, and you are with these people all day long. And it's I think it's a little different than like a camper care aspect, where you have like one other person that you're with most of the time, and then you kind of come together in the evenings with your village or pack or whatever. The equestrian guides are with each other for like 10, 12 hours out of the day. And so I think I learned that, especially once I was like in the lead position, is that you really get to know all the personalities of different people, and you see the good, you see the bad on entire days, and really learning how to like navigate that well, to be able to, one, not want to like be upset at each other when you inevitably do have that really tough day. But learning to communicate to people in different ways to where everyone feels like heard, seen, appreciated, all that stuff. And then I think secondly, it was learning how to not get burnt out, both spiritually and physically.
That's good.
Because you're working so much, and you go into first session and you're like, I'm going to give everything 110%, which you just cannot do for the whole summer. It's just impossible. Like, you want to go like give 100% and 10% to every single game, to every single devotion and everything like that. And you get halfway through session 2 and you're like, I am so exhausted. I don't want to do my devotion time. I just want to crash and go to sleep. And it's just not good. And I think my first year, I learned that lesson the hard way for sure. But you learn it again every single year and just get better and better and better at it. And that's a huge lesson, is learning how to just not get burnt out and pace yourself.
Yeah.
And not get to the point where I'm so tired that I don't want to open my Bible, or I'll just sleep in a little bit longer and skip that Devo time in the morning, because that only just builds on itself and makes you even more spiritually tired later down the line, right? And so finding that balance was probably the second biggest lesson.
Those are both really valuable lessons and things that I can definitely second, that I had similar lessons that I learned. Something else that I really learned from working camp was just having a mindset of complete surrender to the Lord. And I think that was really hard for me as someone who had a really perfect vision for myself and how my summer was going to go and all the ways that things were going to go my way, and that it would turn out great. And I was going to do this, and I was going to be really accomplished in this area of camp, and I was going to interact with this number of campers and things like that. And I just learned that every single summer, the Lord had a completely different plan for me. And I think that kind of releasing that mindset was something that was a little challenging at first, but ended up benefiting me so well, because I was able to take a step back in my own plan, and through a surrender to the Lord, and knowing that I was just a vessel and that I wanted him to work through me, that I was able to look back at the end of each summer and be like, that was completely different than what I planned, but it was also so much better. And that I came away with so many incredible experiences and unique experiences. And each summer was really different than the last. And I think it was really cool getting to see that proved true every summer, that this surrender just made it even better, because I was able to let the Lord lead me into what he felt I was there to accomplish each summer. And so it was really incredible.
It is truly so true that camp can teach you so many things and so many different things. Every year you come back, like you're going to be with different staff, different campers, face different challenges. And so every single year the Lord can use a year to teach you something new and different. So I love the things that y'all shared. And as Amy said, I'm sure y'all could spend hours talking about everything that you learned at camp.
Yeah.
But in addition to everything you learned, you both mentioned you worked multiple summers, like you kept coming back to serve. And so we'd love to just hear a little bit about why did you keep coming back to work camp every year? You know, you had probably tons of other opportunities, internships, like you could be doing this during your summer, but what kept you coming back every single year?
I mean, I'm going to give the cliche answer, as in it was God that kept bringing me back.
Yeah.
But like, in all seriousness, it genuinely was. I think, like, my first time I worked, I was not planning on working. I got hired, I think, like a week and a half before staff training through
You're one of
crazy
those they shout out at staff training who just got hired a week ago.
Yeah, that was me my first summer. And like, it through crazy circumstances that I won't get into now because the story is too long, but it's like only a God circumstance.
Yeah.
And every single summer I would get to the end of the summer and like everyone would ask me, Keenan specifically would always ask me, are you coming back, Alex? And I'm like, I don't know, probably not. And just through string of events, like it just, everything would always line up almost like scarily perfectly, where it was only God lining it up to just like keep coming back. And like to keep going back specifically to the horse barns, because I remember I was going to go into a different role in 2020, and then 2020 happened, and like eventually came back to the role in the horse barns. And it was one of those things. It's like God was like, "No, you're staying in this barn, and you're going to stay here as long as I need you to stay here." And yeah, so it's a cliche answer, I guess, but that's genuinely what it was. Every single year is just trusting him to bring me back and put him where he wanted me. So.
Yeah, I can definitely second that God brought me back every summer and very clearly made a way. I think that I also was really encouraged by getting to grow each summer and feeling really transformed by the end of each summer and wanting to kind of continue to build upon that. And I, different than Alex, did a lot of different roles at camp. I served both a little more behind the scenes, and I was a worship speaker, so I got to communicate some of the truth and the gospel message to campers. And then I also moved more into a camper-facing function and getting to work kind of on the ground with campers and tackling different issues. And so I really loved getting to see how each position grew me in a different area and challenged me. And so I think that was something that was really exciting, was getting to come back and experience different things each year. Mm-hmm. But I also think that the one thing that was very consistent for me across each summer was the relationships and the staff that I got to know really well. But most importantly, when I look back on my time with WinShape, it was always about the campers and getting to build relationships with them, getting to build upon former relationships with them, watching them grow from year to year. And I really cherished that, and watching girls that I started back in 2021 with, and now how old they've gotten and how much they've grown, and seeing how the Lord has worked through them. And that is the most powerful thing. And hopefully that is also an encouragement to parents, that there are staff like me and countless others that are thinking about your kids year round, praying over them, hoping that the lessons that they took from camp are continuing to play out in their lives. And so that was always just the most special thing for me. And getting to come back each summer and watch campers come back was like truly the most incredible experience, and really just opened my eyes and my heart to ministry. And so, I would do it over and over and over again for all of the people that I met there. So.
Y'all are beautiful role models for them, to be able to look up to. And every year you came back, I mean, y'all got more and more, maybe not in title, but you got more leadership responsibilities and more just things added to your plate, because we knew that you were capable and you knew the ins and outs of it all. So very valuable, your time with us. So we're moving into our last question. Both of y'all are done with camp, which is so sad, but you're off and you're doing your life jobs and finishing up grad school and all of that kind of thing. And I would just love to ask you, what will you bring into your future work self from your years of serving at WinShape?
Yeah, I mean, I have two things that I do every single day. One is learning how to work with a tight-knit small team of people. I work in a very small practice. There's one other doctor here, and there's 6, 7 staff members. So very eerily similar to the kind of dynamic that the horse barns had. Yeah. And you're real close, working with people for very long days and very hard stuff too. And so learning how to communicate and work with people very closely for long periods of time, and how to handle conflict when it inevitably happens. That's a big thing. And then second is how to communicate something that I understand completely to somebody that has no background on it. I mean, teaching horseback riding, I would have to teach these campers who have never been on the back of a horse how to do it. And it makes perfect sense to me. I completely understand it. I understand how to stay safe and what muscles you need to engage and all this stuff. But if I start throwing out all these terms that they've never heard before and saying all these things without kind of breaking it down for them, they would leave and they would miss the point. And same goes for the devos and everything too. Someone who's been a Christian for a long time, you can just talk about it and it makes complete sense to you. With someone who's new and learning, needs it broken down a little bit more. And that's something that I take into my job every single day, where I have all this knowledge. I understand what disease process is going on with these people's animals. But if I start throwing out these doctor terms, they're not going to have any idea what I'm talking about. Yeah. And that's been a big thing that I learned at camp, and how to do that well and effectively, and that I do every single day in my job.
Yeah, I agree. There are so many practical skills that I've taken, and skills in leadership and communication and working through conflict and things like that are definitely implemented in every area of my life, and especially in the workplace. I feel like I've become a better employee and worker and learner because of camp. I also think that I learned so much about finding rest in my life. I think that the camp schedule is chaos and it's filled with so much fun. And kind of like Alex mentioned earlier, it can be really easy to get burnout if you don't prioritize what that spiritual rest looks like. And I think that as I have transitioned through different seasons of life and starting grad school and moving into full-time work and things like that, that, you know, with all the circumstances that life throws at us, that it is going to look different every day sometimes. And I think that it has been really important to learn that in the craziness of life and its circumstances and working all the time, that finding rest, and especially rest in the Lord, is something that should be consistent. And that I think that WinShape really emphasized that to all of its staff and even to campers. And I think that that was something that was really good for me to learn, that I can bring into other areas of my life. And a less conceptual thing that I learned is that, you know, I'm really bringing WinShape with me because I met my fiance through camp. So that will really show up in every area of my life for the near future. So really grateful for camp for bringing me to my future husband. So
I love that. You'll never know who you meet. I met my husband at camp. And
I met my husband at camp. Yeah.
So for all you parents out there, don't
That's
worry.
True.
You got some time, but they could meet their spouse. Who knows? Well, thank y'all for sharing so much about that. I think that is something that's so cool about camp is camp sometimes just feels like, oh, it's just this fun job that I'm going to work during the summer. But there's so many practical and things that you can walk away and you can be developed as a person and a leader that really do set you up to launch into any type of role that you're walking into out after college. And so I think that truly is a beautiful thing. And you both hit on different ways that it's done that for you. And I love that. And I love that just for me, even like I worked camp during college and how it set me up to be where I am today. And I'm sure, Amy, you could say the same thing. Yeah. So I love that camp is so fun, but also so much development and just makes you even a better person than you were. So, well, thank you so much, Alex and Grace, for all that you've shared with us today and for taking the time to step out of your day-to-day to be on the podcast with us. We're very grateful. And we just want to end with a reminder to our parents who are listening. Let us know if you have or know any great college students who want an awesome summer that's meaningful, ministry work, and it is just great experience, as you heard Alex and Grace talk about. Just send them our way. We're still looking for some great college students. You can go to or send them to work@winshape.org. That's the website that you can check out. And so, we'd love for you to just think about the people that are around you at your church or anything like that. And if you think this would be a great fit for them, just send them the website. Tell them to check it out. Yeah, we'd love to have them. So thank you so much once again. And so we just always, Alex and Grace, we love to end our podcast with a question that parents can ask their kids while they're in the carpool line or on their way home or something like that. So today our question that we're going to end with, mom or dad, if you're sitting in the car with your kid, that you can ask them just first, like, what is their dream job? Get them to tell you a little bit about maybe what that might be for them right now. And then following up with that question with what skills do you need to get that job? So whether they're in kindergarten, middle school, or high school, I'm sure everyone could have an answer to what their dream job might be right now and what might they need to get there. So we're grateful that you took the time to listen to us today and hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much. This has been wonderful.
Yeah, thank you.